What song is that actually?
I have no idea.
I'm doing a horrible voice version of it. A cappella. That's the word. I'm doing a horrible voice of it. Speaking of voice casts.
What?
That might be something only David gets.
This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is
Tommy and Jacob's mixtape.
Everyone loves an inside joke for a cold open. Hello, everyone.
Sting sucks.
Okay, welcome back to TJ's mixtape. I'm Tommy. That's Jacob. We're a video game movie review.
We play video games.
A movie review podcast where we talk
Sadly.
about some movies and talk about who made them, who's in them, how they were received, and then what we thought of them, and then give them an arbitrary, unnecessary rating at the end. But it's a nice way to put a pin in the conversation. And we are, what is it? Out of time.
Back in time. Sorry. Remember that? Remember when I did that? Sorry. Yeah, out of time.
Yes. So with the new year, Happy New Year, everyone. We decided to do some movies that are based on out of time. People that are out of time.
Because
Not
we are displaced in a weird time.
Not like terminal, but like physically they go from one time into a new time.
Yeah.
They're not like the sands aren't counting down.
Before we had multiverse timeline theory in movies.
We had time travel was really the thing.
Yeah. Or stuck or
Yeah, out of time.
because this is really none of these are time travel. We don't have any that are time travel. We took out the time travel one, right?
The rom-com? No, because the rom-com's time travel.
Oh yeah. That's the
But that's
only
not
one.
really focused though.
No, it's not. Like we were talking about doing the time machine. We're
And
like,
I scrapped that. It's like I like watching that as a casual viewer in the background, but I don't want to sit there and actually review it.
Isn't Jeremy Irons in that?
Yeah, for the last like 15 minutes. Yeah.
Fair.
Jeremy Irons, man. He's like a really phenomenal actor, but he just has a weird career. It's really bizarre. But anyways,
He's like, it's a paycheck.
yeah, good for you. But yeah, we decided to start off with one of my favorites. Actually, 1993's The Demolition Man.
Demolition Man.
Just Demolition Man,
Yeah.
not The Demolition Man.
Demolition Man, because he demolishes things, coming into your city, demolishing.
He does not believe in the concept of collateral damage, apparently, from what they kind of introduced the character as. But if you've never seen it, which I think is very possible,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
it, you know it.
Well, I think if you are a person of our age, you know of it, maybe you haven't seen it, because it's got a history to it, or not.
It's one of those, if you like the 90s cop genre of like Lethal Weapon and those kinds of
90s action, like early 90s over the top.
Explosions.
Yeah, where Michael Bay got his ideas from.
Yeah, this is like
Michael Bay saw that and was like, "Hold my beer."
this is the to me this is one of the like tip top of that example of just unnecessary explosions and slow motion. But if you have never seen it, a quick little synopsis is: a violent cop and a violent criminal's feud spills into the not so distant peaceful future after being released from cryo prison.
Yeah.
So yeah,
This is a bonkers concept to begin with.
let's go with, did you like it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes.
Okay.
Why am I saying yes so much?
I don't know. It's yes or no, not a yes or no question. Good. Well, I loved this movie, and I still did, and I always get really nervous about the ones that I liked a lot as a kid, because
Yeah, Batman Forever.
Because I'm worried that it's gonna like destroy everything I love and hold dear. But it didn't happen with the Phantom, and it didn't happen with this, because I think it's very comfortable in its own skin.
I wonder if maybe just specifically on side tangent with Batman Forever, if there was just such a love for Batman coming from it, where you're like, no, it's a great movie. It's Batman.
It has to be good. I don't know, because I always knew. I mean, it wasn't like I was sitting there advocating for Batman and Robin.
You kind of were at first, a little bit.
No.
Not as bad. You're like, it's definitely not as bad as Batman and Robin, but Batman Forever is. I'm like, dude, it's not.
I mean, nothing can be worse than Batman and Robin. That wins the Raspberry Spike Award for worst Batman movie ever.
A Batman movie?
Yeah.
Some would argue the Batman 1960s Batman movie. Some days just can't get rid of a bomb. But I mean, that's those people that just didn't like the Adam West Batman.
Yeah, I just don't really even count that anymore.
In the zeitgeist?
Yeah, like honestly, like I'm like, yeah,
it's a Batman movie.
I know, but it was so long. We're not talking about that. Anyways, so yes, Demolition Man. I still really enjoyed it. I think it was very comfortable in its skin, and
it's very comfortable in its skin,
which I really appreciate.
I liked the humor that came from it more than anything, and the commentary, because it keeps you interested with the story. The story's weird, but it kind of keeps going and keeps you invested. And I think just like the goofiness of it all is really what sells the movie.
Oh, and I think what sells.
If they would have said this, if they would have tried to make this super serious, I don't think it would have.
No, but I also think that the chemistry between our two leads and their feud was really good.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Sandra Bullock and Sylvester.
No.
I'm like, she's just so cute. How can anybody not have chemistry?
No, she's super cute, but I mean, like their hero and villain chemistry was really good.
That is true. Wesley Snipes
is
phenomenal.
Know what it is? It's like virtuosity. It's like
yeah,
he's
really,
kind of why you want to watch it because
yeah.
he's just really unhinged and
yeah.
looks like he's having a lot of fun. And what I also really liked too, especially with those two, is they actually made it where our supervillain can go toe-to-toe with our buff action guy. Mm-hmm. Because Stallone is really fit, but he's very bodybuilder, very thick guy. And then Snipes is more like very fit as well, but kind of lean muscle. Mm-hmm. And so when they're going at it, you're like, all right, yeah, you got the big muscle-bound guy, and then you got the quick little, like elbow to the face guy. And it actually looked like they could go toe-to-toe and really fuck each other up. And they did fuck each other up.
Fucking did.
And it was cool.
All right, when did this come out and all that stuff? Let's give the facts.
October 8th, 1993.
9th? Maybe I wrote down the premiere because I wrote down 8th. It doesn't matter. Early October, 93.
Said 8th.
Oh, I thought you said 9th.
October 8th, 1993. So, anyways, moving on.
It was a box office success, 18 domestically, or 18 in general. It was number one of the weekend when it came out. And for 1993... Last time we counted, I got 34, and I got 34 again this time.
31.
Yeah, look at that.
93 is becoming a year to
try to avoid.
Yeah, this is our 7th 93 review.
Sounds good. Let's do some movies from the 70s.
Okay.
Maybe. Let's see.
Let's do Holy Mountain.
Let's do The Godfathers Part 1, 2, and 3. No.
I'd be down to do the first one.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, we'll talk about that.
Writers?
Director.
Oh, director. I thought we did that already.
Oh. We were kind of talking about it before, I think.
Oh.
No, we weren't. We haven't even brought up. No, director is Marco Brambilla, who directed this, another movie called Excess Baggage, which I kind of already forget what it's about, and a bunch of shorts and
like artsy fartsy
videos.
Shorts.
Yeah.
And 3 episodes of Dinotopia. Yes.
Okay.
If you don't remember that I forgot that happened.
I really want to rewatch the show Dinosaurs with the puppet, like the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not the mama. Anywho. This was his directing debut for feature film. And this movie eventually ended up going like 40 million over budget, and like shoot schedule like became like an extra like 7 months.
Kind of everything that could go wrong seemed like it did go wrong in the production of this.
Yeah, and the studios were kind of blaming it on the new guy, and then like the actual producers that were like behind like execs and whatnot, like, no, it's not him. He's doing a great job. This movie is just a lot more complicated than we thought it was initially going to be.
Well, yeah, and there's like a fire on set, and Stallone got hurt, and, there's a lot of stuff. By the way, just going back to it, Excess Baggage. A bratty teenager fakes her own kidnapping because mistakenly kidnapped for real instead.
Alicia Silverstone.
And Benicio del Toro and Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
That is
got a 5.4 on IMDb.
That's going on the watch list because that sounds interesting. That's one of those for the cast things,
How much you want to bet there's an Aerosmith song in it?
Oh, because of her and the Aerosmith thing.
She's in like, when I met you, I'm crazy as I met you.
Sad stripper song.
I dance so much better when the strippers cry.
What the fuck is that?
I think it's Rodney Carrington. I don't know. It's a comedian.
Jesus. that was something. Yeah, and then the writers are a little bit kind of
it's
couple.
kind of all over the place.
But first and foremost, our spec writer, who I guess right out of college was selling ideas, came up with the spec script, was Peter M. Lenkov. Lenkov. I wrote primarily known for creating R.I.P.D.
Yeah, he wrote the graphic novel too. He did rebooted or did the remakes or reboots of MacGyver and Hawaii Five-0 in like the early 2000s. And he wrote Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, what? So the guy's had a bit of career, but like, yeah, he like created the story for this and he sold the script, and then it was essentially rewritten, by Daniel Waters, who is a writer he wrote Heathers and he wrote Batman Returns and Hudson Hawk, like early 90s kind of success. Nothing really since that was really popular that I saw.
Yeah. Those are the two I wrote.
Huh?
Those are the two I wrote.
Heathers and Batman Returns.
Yeah.
And then, like, while I was reading on IMDb, it seemed like it kind of went through a handful of other, like, rewrite people, but, like, no one credited. And then Robert Reneau has no credit on IMDb as a total, or no credit on Wikipedia, sorry, and 4 total IMDb credits, but there was no information. I don't know why they have a writing credit.
Story. It says story on IMDb. So.
I missed that. I thought I saw story for Daniel Waters, but maybe they're a friend of Peter's that, I don't know.
Came up with the Taco Bell thing. And they're like, that's great.
Is that okay?
That's speculation.
No, it says on Wikipedia who gave him that Taco Bell idea. Oh, no. The Taco Bell thing was a forced hand thing, because originally they wanted it to be Burger King. Burger King said no. They didn't want to be affiliated with it. And the McDonald's also said no.
Yeah.
Taco Bell then agreed to do it, which then kind of put Taco Bell onto a bigger map. And then in the UK, since Taco Bell wasn't a thing over there,
Pizza Hut.
It was Pizza Hut, because Pepsi company owns all of that.
But I was just making a joke that Robert said one thing.
When you said that, my brain went to the shells, the seashells, which there's a funny story about that.
Yeah, which I really thought that they would have had more.
That's the joke of the seashells, though, is that we never know
what
how
it's the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Like you never really know, and you're never going to.
He doesn't know how to use the 3 shells.
Oh yeah, that's another Rob Schneider and Stallone bit.
Yeah.
I wonder how that happened. I wonder if that was a happy accident or
like going into Judge Dredd.
Well, because Judge Dredd was first, right?
Oh no, Judge Dredd's 95.
Really?
Yeah.
God, that movie looks fucking old.
So does this.
I think this looks better than Judge Dredd.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. That could just be design, you know.
Well, yeah, but I just think it's
like set design, costume design.
Well, and then also Dredd is like a dystopian wasteland mega city, and this is like a mall in.
This is a different kind of dystopian. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a mall in San Diego. You know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. San Diego.
So then maybe that's
San Angeles.
I'm just looking because I don't actually totally believe you. That's crazy.
Yeah, because I was writing names. I was writing them down because I was like, anything in this city other? Oh, that's in that time.
Judge Dredd has a 5.6. I don't remember it being that bad.
It's not that good.
No.
Nah. Maybe part of that is because the set design and the costume wasn't very good.
Well, and they also gave Stallone fucking blue contacts, would look fucking weird.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he has blue eyes, and you're like,
Well, speaking of Sylvester Stallone, let's talk about who's starring in this movie.
Sylvester Stallone. He plays John Spartan.
He's also the Terminator in Last Action Hero.
Oh yeah, he is. Rocky.
Yep.
Suicide Squad is King Shark.
Great. He's also Rambo, from First Blood and Rambo 2 and Rambo 3.
And they made a Rambo joke in this.
Yeah, they did.
Which I liked a lot.
And then the one that he has 95 acting credits, just to be clear.
Ants.
Yeah. I put Over the Top. Do you know that movie?
Is it the arm wrestling movie?
Yeah. Fucking what a weird concept.
Cliffhanger.
That one's dramatic, actually. Like, it's crazy, but there's tension to that because they could, die.
God, this is kind of, now I'm thinking about it, it's kind of weird, this connection within the
multiverse.
In the zeitgeist of pop culture at this time, because you have Stallone, who's in Cliffhanger, and then you have Bob
Gooten.
You have Bob Gooten, who's in When Nature Calls, where Ace Ventura does an entire cliffhanger joke.
Oh yeah,
it's just a weird sequence of events that you're oh,
connections.
Yeah, weird connections to it, But I just thought that was interesting. I was oh yeah. But yeah, I mean Stallone, I feel like
the number 23.
Sylvester Stallone is pretty. If you've never seen Balboa, I still stand by.
I need to see Balboa still.
So,
out of all the Rocky films, the one I've seen the most is Rocky 4. I want to say
I've never seen the original ones.
Really,
I've never been interested.
I mean, not since I was a kid, teenager ish, and I think it's only I think I've seen Rocky 1, bits of 2, bits of 3. I think Mr. T's in 3, and then 4 because that's when he's fighting Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, the only one I've really seen is the I'm getting old one.
Balboa. Yeah. And then he's in Creed as Rocky.
Yeah, and those movies are dope. I feel like I just talked about this. Why did I just talk about this?
I don't know. We brought it up together on here before how I need to watch them still.
I know, but why would Rocky come up? Whatever.
Adrian!
And then our main lead villain that we were talking about is Wesley Snipes.
Who we talked about in
Blade?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. The way you said that was it was a trick question. I was
I was giving you the lead.
I was
handing it off to you.
Who plays Simon Phoenix.
What a great name for a villain, actually.
Well, they're all great. John Spartan and Simon Phoenix.
It's so on the nose.
It is, but it's...
Well, and that's really quick. Also, the big thing, Peter Lenkov, when he was writing this, was 100% inspired by Lethal Weapon. Yeah. That was his biggest thing, is he wanted to make something as big, if not bigger, than Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
And which the fun little call to that in Sandra Bullock's office. What's her character's name? I can't remember.
Lieutenant Lena Huxley.
Okay. Yeah.
That's also, we'll get into the world building of that. But yeah, I mean, it's very, that's what I mean. It's what it was to me. It was Last Action Hero, but it was actually happening.
It's funny you say that because the comparison of the two, because of Arnold, because these came out the same year. And this was a box office success. Last Action Hero wasn't.
And I get why.
Yes.
Which
weirdly, and I think I personally like Last Action Hero more than this because it's a lot more of a satire on it all. This doesn't really feel like a satire. This just feels like it feels like a commentary on dystopia, and future more than anything.
Yeah.
But I say it's just that this was Stallone kind of on the bounce back, and this is Arnold on the downside.
Well, and it's just I like the fact that this world, they made it, like I said, lives in a really good bubble, but it does feel like an extension of our world because of the fact of Lethal Weapon 2 poster on the wall and the Schwarzenegger library, and it makes all these
President Schwarzenegger
hold on to this Rambo. Him saying that means that he grew up watching the Rambo movies.
Yeah.
It's a funny, it's a weird kind of meta on top of itself kind of experience.
It has a commentary on our
and it's just funny
90s culture, yeah.
And it's kind of
for them at that time, the current culture.
But yeah, Wesley Snipes, Tu Wong Fu,
U.S. Marshals,
Blade, Jungle Fever. I forgot about that movie until I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, forgot that happened. Gallow Walkers, which I really want to like, but it's really not good. It's a Blade in the desert, but he fights a bunch of skinwalkers.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I really want to like it because it's Western and it's monsters and shit. But I tried watching it the other night and I was like, yep, can't do it. Can't sit through this.
Then we got
Sandra Bullock, who plays Lieutenant.
You already said it. Lena. Huxley.
Well, I'm just gonna say now because I'm gonna forget. What I really enjoyed too is just a fun little writing thing. The fact that everyone says their first and last names. If they introduce themselves, they say it, and then every time someone calls to them, they say their full name.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I just thought it was really funny because it's just how this world. It's just a world building technique, and it's really easy to do. But once I noticed it, I was like, "Holy shit! Every single person's doing it."
It's like the very like robotic nature of everybody.
Yeah, be well. John Spartan, you know, instead of calling him John or Spartan, the only ones that did that were the ones from our century.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, I thought that was a cool little
like the attention to detail of the world.
Yeah. And it's like that kind of stuff is it's a really easy thing to do to make your world more rich.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people just don't put the effort into it, you know,
or they don't think it's an
oversight, you know? But yeah, we talked about Sandra Bullock in 2, actually, Gravity and Bullet Train. She's the handler.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Miss Congeniality, Practical Magic,
Speed,
Bird Box. Is that her most recent? One of her more recent ones.
I mean, yeah, the last 5 years.
Yeah, something like that.
I think that came out pandemic, so like it
was like either like right before or like right after, right?
Yeah.
Because that was someone's. That was kind of one of those twin movie things, right? Because Quiet Place came out and then Bird Box came out right around the same time, right?
And I don't know if they were that close to each other, but they are relatively close.
They're close to each other.
I think maybe within 6 months to a year, I would say.
Okay. Who else did you have?
Oh, Dennis Leary.
Oh yeah, Dennis Leary.
We talked about in the ref.
Yeah.
He's a minor important character, like a minor role in the movie, like but very like his character is very important and pivotal to
the story.
Yeah. And then we have Benjamin Pratt, one of his earlier films or movies. It looks like smaller roles, who is also in Miss Congeniality.
He Law and Order, old school Law and Order.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I think he was partners with Lenny.
Oh, wow. Glenn Shaddix, who we talked about in Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Bob Gutton, who we talked about before we started recording a good amount.
Yep. The Warden in Shawshank Redemption.
Yep. Nigel Hawthorne. Why did I write him down? Oh, he's the main bad guy, isn't he? Or the not.
Yeah, he's Dr. Cocteau.
Yeah.
The creator of the civilization.
And I'm not recognizing him anymore in my head. And the last one I have is Rob Schneider, because this was Rob Schneider coming out of or in still SNL and kind of becoming. It's like dipping his toe into Hollywood as a big star, and then it's like he's becomes the comic relief in like some action, like we were just talking about Judge Dredd. He's in that as well with Sylvester Stallone, and then just kind of like goes into his like comedy realm with Happy Madison stuff because they were good friends.
And now he doesn't really do anything except get in trouble online. That's your.
I think he's hilarious and actually super talented.
Oh yeah, but he has his thing.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't mention it. Jack Black, baby Jack Black.
I missed him.
Oh, you did?
I didn't see him.
Oh yeah, there's an idea. It's totally. I meant to actually send it to you. I don't know where my phone is. I took a picture of it. Yeah, there's a baby Jack Black. He's one of the scraps. You know, the people that live under the.
Get out of here! Really?
Yeah, it's that scene right after Dennis Leary has his first. I want to say too, Dennis Leary's acting in this is he wrote that. It's one. If you ever knew his comedy thing, it's just,
he's a rant.
It's just his comedy. He just does a couple of his shticks, throughout the movie.
I mean, he's not wrong.
But it's that first rant he has, and then Spartan has that great, do whatever you want, be well, and Cocteau's an asshole. And he throws the gun out of his face.
Oh, yeah.
And when the gun moves the barrel, you see a face. And I was like, that looks like Jack Black. And then the next scene is them, you know, like Stallone is here and Lear's here and they're talking. And there's just Jack Black. Like,
was being
20, mid-20, however old he is, you know.
Early 20s.
Early 20s, like just little baby Jack Black going, like, you know, watching them argue.
I mean, that's kind of cool. Because, like, I want to say around this time is when Neverending Story 3 came out. And he's the
bully.
The main bully in that. So this is kind of the beginning of his career, like, acting career. I don't know when he started. I can't remember when he started Tenacious D with Kyle. But, because then what? He's in an episode of X-Files, and then he's the war kid that gets killed in Mars Attacks. High Fidelity. Oh, sorry. I just got lost on Jack Black.
What are our scores?
I'll tell you what our scores are.
You trailed off too long. Get back.
Demolition Man has a 6.7 on IMDb. And then a 6.4 tomato rating. Am I having a stroke? God, my eyes went foggy too when I said that. Jesus. A 6.4 tomato rating. And a 67 popcorn meter rating. Yeah, no, something happened right there. So, you know, mediocre. Mediocre.
Well, on Metacritic, this has a 34, which comes to generally unfavorable.
Whoa.
And I don't think that's fair.
I don't think that's fair at all. That's wild.
But there's only like 11 reviews.
Okay.
So there are 2 positive, 4 mixed, and 3 negative. So it really just, I don't know. I also just thought it was weird that there was that little reviews for a 93 Stallone Snipes picture. I just felt like would have had more. And maybe this is just what got turned into digital representation, you know? I mean, obviously there's not...
Digital library,
you know? Okay, so Tip Top with an 80 by Philippa Bloom, at Empire. If ever there was a movie equivalent to The One Night Stand, this is it. Not necessarily something you'll remember next day, but fast, furious, and damn good fun while it lasts. You're like, okay.
Fast, furious. God damn it. It's like, when is A Perfect Storm going to start?
50 for mixed with a 50 by Lewis Black, not the comedian, spelled differently, at Austin Chronicle. The script is fueled by genuine wit. Everyone turns in fine performances, and beginning to end, the film actually shows some thought, if little originality.
Yeah, okay, fair.
And then the bottom of the bottom, who did I pick? It was a couple. Rolling Stone. Just 25 at Rolling Stone by Peter Travers. Demolition Man is sleek and empty, as well as brutal and pointless.
You know, the thing that's hard is, like, I think it's just, those are, what they're writing aren't wrong, and I just think maybe the scores they're giving it are just unfairly wrong, because it's not a great movie by any means, but it's not a bad movie, because, okay, the vehicle of what this movie is does its job. And as I was like at the beginning of it, you kind of like are questioning a little bit what are really the rules of everything, and like they don't really go into a lot of nitty-gritty details of like how the justice system, and I mean it's everything is very vaguely presented, and
the whole movie's a carrot.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's okay, because really what this movie is, and I guess it is a little bit more commentary than I was saying at the beginning, it's setting up to make this show this, I guess, make jokes of the future, like of where it could go, because you get enough information moving forward into the future and like into the future world for you to just kind of accept what's happening.
Well, and that's what I think goes into the living in the bubble thing.
Yeah,
it creates a snow globe well enough.
Yeah,
that when you're in the confines of it, you find yourself not really questioning it, which is kind of the point of a movie like this.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So that definitely, when we get to our scoring, that gives it a point up.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I would think, though, is that the timeline doesn't really make sense to me.
How so?
It's been 37 years.
Yeah.
And this drastic of a complete and utter social change to the point where even people that and this is just kind of writing to the point where even people that should remember what it was like are kind of acting all like
it's like literally like 100 years ago almost.
Yeah, it's the Darth Vader, your arcane arts thing.
Yeah,
and you're like the police chief. I'm like, dude, weren't you like 12?
Yeah.
Like, you would really have a good idea of all this shit that went down.
Let's see. It takes place 2032.
It's 37 years, or 36 years.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to think, like, let's say Huxley. They kind of bring up how old Huxley is, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, she's got to be what?
The character, I'm saying.
Yeah,
Sandra Bullock is like 28 or 29, I want to say.
I would say she's around there, like 25 to 29.
Same age-ish?
Yeah, I would say.
So then, from what, like, thinking about, okay, they do it. I do like is they do have this like this big event that they bring up, and that was like the big one.
Which every California person their entire life has heard about the big one.
If you haven't lived on what coast are we on? The West Coast. You haven't heard don't know what the big one is. That means the San Andreas Fault.
It's getting ready to blow any minute now.
And it's going to cause
the
earthquake, and it's gonna
be very detrimental to society as we know it on this side of the coast.
Yeah.
It's going to have a very big ripple effect. But
100%, yeah. And it's not just going to be isolated into into Southern California, because that fault line goes all the way straight up to British Columbia. So they talk about the big one that happened in 2010. So that's
hey, we made it.
20, yeah, right.
We made it.
22 years. So like in a maybe bubble of society, there is a sense of maybe a rebuilding of societal structure that could come from that. But again, that's also a very short amount of time. But I feel like science fiction action movies at this time, their sense of time and future is really askew, because they're like our concept of time today in 2025 is different than the concept of time was in 1993, let alone when this script was in the works or whatever for like 8 years before it started filming.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of...
Yeah. So it's like, you got to think like the spec script sold like maybe 85, 86. And then it's being worked on. So like concept of time in the mid 80s is completely different. Because even like where it shows like at the very beginning of the film, it starts in 1996, 3 years away from 1993. And the world already looks like run out and in a weird futuristic way. Like cars are already looking much more futuristic than 1993, like decade or and a half of evolution of technology. There's cryo freezing technology 3 years from 1993. Like it's kind of like even just wild to think that in 3 years from when this is released, there is that much more technology, and then they're supposed to be frozen for 50, 70 years. And then they're whatever the storyline happens, and they're frozen 32 years later. And yeah, so then in 32 years, wild things have changed.
Well, something that kind of gave me, and by the way, the San Andreas Fault does stop at California. It fractures off into Washington, into like sub fractures.
Oh,
so there's one, and that's pretty much the entire line of California, and then it goes off into the ocean, and then it breaks off into different.
Then I wonder, it might be just like the Cascadia line.
Yeah, I don't know,
because like there is like, yeah, if either one of them happen, it's gonna.
Well, but even then, if you just think about the San Andreas Fault and the fact that it's the length of California and that shifts, it's gonna be. I'm really looking forward to it. I say that kind of sarcastically.
I hope that doesn't happen in our lifetime.
I mean, but that's the thing, and that's why I said specifically the California thing.
Yeah,
is because we have all grown up with the big one, for all of our lives and did all of the earthquake prepping, the drills and everything. So I don't know if it's just my millennial age.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the difficult times we had to take plus.
I had to do some stuff. Yeah, I'm totally derailed now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're just talking about so like this whole idea of this 36 years. We were trying to figure out her age. So she definitely was. Huxley was born and raised in this new kind of peaceful reign, but it's like the chief, like I was saying, was like 12 years old or whatever, and he's just sitting there. And I don't know. I guess that's fair though, because if he was that old,
he bought into this new society super hard.
Well, and then he was still a child technically, so growing.
He was assimilated into it.
Yeah, so I guess it kind of makes sense. And then also I had this epiphany too, that when you're watching this, you kind of have this idea that the whole world is like this, and it's like no. This city is like
this.
Exactly.
That's kind of the bubble thing that they're talking about.
Yeah, it's like and that's what and I kind of realized that watching this, like the grand plan of our villain is to create the perfect society, and it kind of almost implies to then stretch it out farther than the confines of this. He's
San Angeles, which is what, Los Angeles, San Diego, and
it's like Santa Barbara or
Santa Barbara,
something like that. Yeah. So it's like he took all these counties and made it into this perfect utopia. And the idea is that he'll make it so perfect that then he wants to become like, he mentions an interesting analogy about perfection, like an ant colony. And then you're like, and you want to be the queen ant? Like, what do you mean? And I really liked it. It was very weird, but it worked out for this like little kind of thing,
Well, and it's like, we have this like utopia, quote unquote, of like they've gotten rid of like anything that is bad for you is like forbidden. You, if you curse, you get a penalty credit.
That is still one of the funniest gags in a sci-fi kind of movie like this. It's really very funny.
It's like, what the fuck is this? The fuck?
Well, because and the thing that they did too is they kept introducing it, but they kept introducing it in a way that people reacted with it differently. Yeah. Because first you had Simon, where he's like shit like that, and he goes. Fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, it's first introduced with Huxley in her office. She says, like, God damn, or she says something.
And then she's like, darn it, I got a ticket. And then you have Simon, but then even like, Spartan does it.
He's just ignoring it.
Well, yeah, he just ends up ignoring it pretty much the whole time, and Huxley's just like collecting his tickets. Yeah. But when he first does it, he goes up and then he just has a slew of obscenities that he says, takes them out, and then I never noticed it before.
He's like to use it for toilet paper.
Yeah, and he's gonna go wipe his ass with the fines. And I was like, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really clever, like, I mean, like, I'm sure there's someone sitting there going, it's not really that clever. And you're like, it kind of is for this kind of just this sci-fi world we're making.
For a man out of time finding a way to use what he make.
The caveman found a resource and now he's going to use it,
Yeah.
And it's just
it's also like a good example of how he feels about these fines as well, is nothing but shit paper for him.
Well, yeah, it's just like,
you know what I'm gonna do with your fine? I'm gonna wipe my ass with it.
And it's that whole, like I always talk about that rule of 3, and that I just was really impressed the fact they were able to keep bringing this thing up and it didn't really get old.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hate to.
When they're the only time that it stops going off, I want to say, is like in the museum when
all shit's gone.
Yeah. It's like it's like you hear it in the back, even like even as Simon's walking through the museum and saying shit, you just hear it. Going off.
Well, it's like. Or like even like
oh my god,
Spartan's like, I hate to interrupt you two lovebirds, but that's really fucking stupid. And then you're and it just has this kind of, it makes all the swearing really emphasized.
Yeah, it does.
In a way where you're like kind of not noticing it at first.
It kind of makes you realize how often maybe people actually do swear
and don't even notice,
or just like like even if it's like goddamn or shit or ass.
Well, it's even funny too because it has that you will find 1 credit for the verbal obscenity morality clause. Just this horse shit, and it's just I really do. I think it's a great gag. I'm like,
it's a great gag.
Well, and that's the whole thing about this. Be well, and to this, it's funny. This movie so I don't know the last time y'all have been to a Walgreens, but they say be well. And it makes me laugh every time.
I didn't know that.
They're like, it's clear their company
policy
is, be
welcome
well.
to Costco. I love you. We'll get there.
Be well.
Yeah.
You know, and so every time I go there, I think of that. But it's even like when that armory scene you're talking about, the museum, that locks it down, and the automated voice is telling them where they're locked down.
Yeah.
You are locked down in the west corner of the... And you're like, why are you telling them that? Number one, they know. And two, why are you feeding the person you're trying to arrest information? It's just a really Looney Tunes.
And that's the fun thing about this movie as well, is like where law enforcement, like this is such a peaceful world that if you do break the law, you're assumed to just comply with the police officers.
Well, and then the police...
Because there is no actual like breaking of a law type thing.
Well, and it's like the police officers, like there's that great line where Rob Schneider's like, we're police officers. We're not trained to handle this kind of violence.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. Like, it's a funny...
I mean, which is a commentary about of cops getting softer over time, which we've maybe seen an opposite of that.
I had this joke I wanted to say, but I'm really losing my nerve on it. I'll just tell you off mic.
Okay.
It's pretty...
Because like when Simon Phoenix is like at whatever, like the ATM or like computer or whatever, and he's like, you know, he's getting, the police have found him and whatever, because after he's murder, death, kill.
Yeah.
Murder, death, kill. Four murder, death, kills.
187 murder, death, kill.
Yeah.
Murder, death, kill.
And it's like, tell the person to lie down on his stomach and put hands behind his back. He's refusing to do it. Say it again, but more assertive, or say and add or else.
Well, and that's something that I wanted to say too about this. That something I was kind of impressed with is the content of the violence of this movie is actually pretty brutal.
Yeah,
because like, you know, Simon gets his hands on the warden, removes his eye to scan out, and then they do that whole thing, and he's got like punctured lung, broken ribs, internal, you know, like Simon brutally murdered this guy with his bare hands. But you kind of lose, like, or even that scene with the cops, and then he turns on the anti-graffiti thing and fucking vaporizes one of the cops. Yeah. And then again, you know, the other 5 of them, he beats basically to death with his bare hands because he's a maniac, as they keep calling him. And you kind of forget, you kind of don't really realize how violent this movie is because it has this
juxtaposition.
Yeah, this really kind of sheen on it because it's in this kind of world. And I just thought it was really interesting world, like a cool world to build. I did want to say earlier too that Elliot Goldenthal did the music. Mm-hmm. He did the music for Batman Forever.
Oh, okay.
Just that kind of connection thing.
Through line, yeah.
But the reason I noticed it is because when you have that opening shot of Los Angeles and it's all
at the beginning,
and it's all on fire and it's hell on earth, and you know, and that's something that like we learn is that when Simon Phoenix was at his prime before he got frozen, he had created this criminal empire, a kingdom in West Los Angeles or wherever it was. But it was just spanning music, and I was like, God. Maybe it's the shot, but this really reminds me of the intro to Interview with the Vampire, like when they're spanning into San Francisco. And I was like, maybe it's just because it's at California, and I don't know, whatever. And then there was like that explosion scene with that music, and I was like, this sounds like Batman Forever. And I was like, I'm going to go ahead and think that I'm going to say this is Elliot, and sure enough, he had done the...
Nice. Did he do an interview as well?
Yeah, he did an interview too.
Oh, okay.
He just has it's just one of those, he has a very... All right, we got a long shot over a skyline. It's, you know, the Danny Elfman thing. Bum, bum, bum. I just thought it was funny.
He's got a good fingerprint.
Yeah.
So we're talking a lot about Logan, but like, so the beginning of the movie is very important because of why John Spartan is in the future.
Oh yeah, that was another plot hole I wanted to discuss with you.
Because there is a handful of kind of, and this is where it's like you got to start eating the carrot pretty early, because the plot hole, there's plot holes are aplenty in this movie, because you have Spartan at the very beginning. He's going to arrest Phoenix. He's finally found him, got him,
and it's Phoenix is his Moby Dick.
Yeah,
the white whale.
And Spartan has deduced that it is there's only Phoenix and 8 other hostiles in the building. There's supposed to be like 20 to 40 hostages or something.
Yeah.
But they're not in the building. He's like, I don't have a heat signature for any other bodies. I'm going in after Phoenix. And then
fight.
Phoenix blows up the building. Lo and behold, there was 40 bodies found in the rubble of everything. And then Spartan is then involuntary manslaughter of all the hostages.
Well, he's framed basically. It
Yeah.
implies that Phoenix had killed him already, blew up the building because Spartan also has.
Well, you don't find out that Phoenix killed him until later on when he admits it.
Well, yeah, you knew though.
Well, no, I mean, I was kind of, because I'd forgotten a little bit of that plot point.
Oh.
And when Phoenix is like, I had already killed them. They are dead in that. But I thought that, I didn't think of that. I thought that maybe the hostages were who Spartan thought were some of the
Well, yeah.
whatever. I didn't think of it like, oh, he had already murdered them. Because even Spartan was like, there's no way there was there was nobody in that.
Well,
you know,
but like
anywho.
Spartan has this reputation for the Demolition Man.
Yeah,
and he
exactly.
goes and explodes shit.
That's why it's called Demolition Man.
And
by
he
the way.
destroys everything. So obviously, they think that he did do this. But what I just thought was kind of weird, I was like, so. I mean, I guess in the bubble of the world, it makes sense. But you're kind of like, all right, so you have this decorated, granted destructive, but decorated police officer, and you got this well-known psychopath who literally created this no man's land except for his particular crew in Los Angeles. And yeah, I guess it would just be the manslaughter thing he has to do, and that's why he got the cryogenic.
Yeah, but then
why do they cryo freeze
exactly?
Phoenix?
Why? Yeah, it's like, why is it such a? Why are they cryo for? It's like for rehabilitation of sorts, but like wouldn't Phoenix, for everything he's done, maybe get the death penalty? Maybe there is no death penalty. Yeah, it's like, this is where the rules of the world are kind of like, you just kind of accept it, because
and it's one of those things too. If you write it, you could write it in a little bit, like, because even then, when they are being.
Well, we don't know what was removed from the film as well. This could have already been written in.
When they were being processed, it was a young warden Smithers, the guy that got his eye removed.
Was he the warden back then as well?
He was the assistant warden, and he was checking him in. But I was just thinking, like, I mean, the way you could make it, like, all that makes sense is that since this is such new technology, they're really just grabbing whoever they can to practice on it.
Maybe.
Like, we don't really have a way of doing any of this yet, but we do know how to freeze them.
Yeah.
But we just need bodies to kind of tinker around with.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just they don't really explain it fully. It's just kind of it's just the world that it is.
It is what it is.
And the part of that thing is, while you're frozen. And this is also Cocteau Industries as well. Mm-hmm. So like our rich bad guy has already he's created this technology. So while you're frozen, and you're supposed to go through a rehabilitation, so then when you wake up, then you can be a contributing person to society. Which is kind of it's like a weird Matrix thing. It's like, while you're frozen, you're getting information put into your brain.
Yeah, based on like a genetic makeup of
Yeah.
some bullshit sci-fi science. Which,
here you go. This is probably why Phoenix was chosen to be frozen, is Cocteau was using him, he rehabilitated him to be the perfect killing machine, and he can unfreeze this assassin whenever he needs it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, when did he decide to do that?
Yeah, we don't get any. Yeah,
there's not enough real story.
And
in that
on
sense.
that, you just kind of find out through them going into the system, and then Huxley's not supposed to have access to it, but
and then
gets
somehow
gets
presses a button, and then she's
pretty much. I know how to get past this. It's like, okay, what was the point of having
90s hacker shit?
And his rehabilitation process was just pretty much, I know kung fu, and also get 3 times stronger. Like, how did he get stronger through that? Like, that's the only thing that bothers me. Is like, I will eat the carrot of all of that.
I mean, I can think of an explanation for you.
To be frozen for 36 years and come out 3 times stronger?
Because it's actually never said in his file that he is. That is just what Spartan is saying. And so it could be that he's just that much of a better fighter that
he can pick up a human from inside of a vehicle and throw them 20 feet.
Yeah, in the 90s, they all could do that. What do you mean?
That's a 90s thing.
Yeah, it really is.
If I was born in 19... if I was 30-something in the 90s, I could do that.
All the 90s movies, they go and they pick up a full-grown man just by their shirt, 4 feet up in the air. It's like, I always kind of took it as just kind of like hyperbole on Spartans, because he just got his ass literally handed to him in a way that he never had
There
before.
was a sense of Simon Phoenix's almost super strength level that didn't seem like a very 90s action movie thing. That seemed very out of place.
Universal Soldier kind of
thing. Yeah. Universal Soldier, I'll accept that, because who knows what kind of steroids they're taking, you know?
Well, but that's what, they were obviously doing something to him.
Yeah.
Can we address the elephant in the room?
When his eyes ball switched?
I didn't notice that. I was just talking about the moment where Wesley Snipes is incredibly racist for absolutely no reason.
Oh, when he sees the Chinese children? Or the Asian children, we should say. The Asian children walking by?
I forgot about that. I was hysterically laughing. Because also, I was like, okay, there's one of two... okay, so if you
This was the look at my face, everybody.
Little Asian children walk by him at the museum just on a field trip or with their mom or whatever the fuck they're doing, and he looks at them and he makes a series of noises
very racist noises.
And I was just sitting there and I was like, okay, so
that was
one of two things.
Had to be improv by him.
They wrote it in, which is really weird and probably unlikely, or even better, Wesley Snipes
don't give a fuck.
Felt the spirit within him and needed to exercise the demon. I don't know.
Exercise the demon.
I don't know. I thought it was so bad, but it was so fucking funny because it just comes out of nowhere.
It comes out of nowhere. It weirdly fits for the character of Simon Phoenix.
Oh, 1,000%.
The no filter shit that he does. But it's also very much just kind of like, I mean, it's a very good reflection of the time in the early 90s and just how blatantly racist people were to specific ethnic groups of people, you know? It's like fucking yellowface in the 80s was like, oh, who gives a shit, you know? Even though blackface by that time was already like, we can't do that, but no, we'll get fucking
but then it's also
Ed Asner, whatever the fuck.
Well, because it's weird too, because like that, you have this moment,
Ricky Mooney.
You have this moment where he's being really racist to these little Asian children. Can you imagine being that kid? Like now, you're like, God, I remember I was that extra in that Demolition Man, and Wesley Snipes went to me. You know what I mean? That would be I don't know.
I mean, that's a story to tell.
That's a cool memory. Can you believe it?
One of my best memories is when Wesley Snipes was racist to me.
It was wild. Or like you're just sitting on the therapy couch, and then I have this nightmare where Wesley Snipes is chasing me, but he has blonde hair.
And then there's Blade, and he's in a museum.
And he's got blonde hair and blue eyes, and I don't understand.
One blue eye, mind you.
But I was going to say, it's like this weird thing where you're being racist to him, but then you're also really idolizing the culture, especially when you come to this time with sci-fi stuff. The influence that Asian culture has on sci-fi being this kind of...
Oh, yeah. Like the rich people wearing kimonos and...
Well, yeah, but it's all... I mean, even Blade Runner had it, too. Yeah. It's like this idea of this idolization of this elegance...
Yeah.
That the culture has, which I'm not saying it does or doesn't.
I see what but maybe Firefly did it correct.
But what I'm just saying is it's this weird...
Or more correct, I guess, but
weird balance that they're doing. Not even I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
I think it's more
juxtaposition,
just showing an acknowledgement of influence of another society and culture that has risen in into economic power.
No, I get it. I get it. Yeah. But I'm like, then stop being racist to the people that you're getting the influence from. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it. I get what they're doing.
It's like if there's an acknowledgement of like it's gonna be so much influence from them, but we're still gonna be racist, aren't we? Yeah. I mean, come on.
It's like they're gonna become one of the top world powers. Let's really jab them while they're here. I always found it really bizarre. And it's like, and I think it's really in that scene because he does that moment, and then he slams some dude's head in the wall, knocking him out, and everyone in the room, all wearing kimonos, basically
just scuttle
out. And you're like, that was a weird series of events to happen. But yeah, I could not believe that. I just completely forgot that had happened, and I was like, all right, let's go. All right, Wesley. You go, dude.
Well, and I was reading as well as that Wesley Snipes, apparently Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone got along really well.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
You can really tell.
But they have very different styles of performance as well, so they were kind of like unsure how that was going to go. Because Sylvester Stallone's very much like, let's rehearse, let's get it right. And Wesley Snipes like, I'm not going to rehearse, I just want to wing it. Maybe not wing it, but he doesn't like to rehearse, and he likes to improv a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, a lot of what he's saying is Wesley Snipes being like, I know this character.
Well, and also a good point to make too is that Jackie Chan was first approached for the role for the villain, but he didn't want to be a villain, which makes sense for especially his image at the time. He was it was very, very clear about his image at the time. his image in the 90s was the bumbling, goofy, but really skilled fighter cop guy.
Master.
Yeah, Rush Hour. That was
Like,
you know, like especially for Western audiences, you know, like he had this like look to him and this vibe. But my point, and I get that Rush Hour came out later, but I was just using an example. But just gonna go ahead and say that if Jackie Chan was standing there looking at the map, that moment wouldn't have happened.
No, not at all.
That would have made it way funnier. If Jackie Chan looked over and then he did that to little Asian children, that would have been crazier. That would have been wild. But I'm just...
We spent a lot of time talking about this moment, and I think we need to move on.
It's my favorite moment. Because I can't believe it happened. Well, and also it's just, I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised with Stallone in this too. Like, I don't know. I felt like this is kind of one of his better... Like, he had this, like, sense of humor in it, but it was really dry. Like, and then
he's not a very complex character, but he commits very much to who the character is in a really good way.
Well, and there's, like, this
really
kind of...
grounded way.
Yeah, and there's this point where he just kind of comes to this kind of quiet acceptance of this kind of fever dream that he's in.
Yeah.
And, like, even... That's where it is. Like, because even like, you know, he's having that conversation about, you know, I saved his life and now he's going to take me to Taco Bell. I mean, we'll kill for a burrito, but, you know, because he doesn't understand yet that Taco Bell is the one restaurant in the city.
Yeah.
And there's just kind of this depressed defeat. He's just kind of like, this is my life.
Well, it's like the ringer he kind of goes through. Because like as soon as he's unfrozen, he's like, what happened to my wife? What happened to my daughter? You know, it's like I was awake this entire goddamn time. You guys don't know this, and you know, like a little bit of world building for it. But then like this weird world building that's just dropped. Like that was supposed to be an entire like side story that he was like trying to find his daughter, and it was just scrapped because it just became too much for the script.
I think it would have also become too RoboCop.
Fair, I guess.
That would be a little too RoboCop.
I see what you're... Yeah, I see, like, because of that connection, yeah. But, like, it was just weird that they tried... I don't know. It was, like, brought up enough to where then how they scrapped it just seemed very, like, oh, and we're closing that door.
You feel like that? Because, I mean, they bring it up when you wake him up.
Which, that's the only time it really needed to be brought up. And then it's brought up again when they're in the car, and she's like, "Oh, I can do it." And he's like, "No," and it's like, and that's when they close the door, and it's like it didn't need to be brought up the second time, and because it felt like it was like this was going to be another side.
Yeah,
story.
but do you also think it'd been weird if they didn't bring it up again? They bring up your dead wife and your child, and then like having that moment to me makes it seem like the Spartan character is not ready yet, still to.
But
because
bringing it up a second time is then alluding to then there's going to be the next time there's going to be the discovery of her on accident. And
I see what you're saying, but the fact that he shut it down.
That's what I'm saying. Even because he shut it down, it's like he's trying to close the door. In a writing sense, that's number 2. We work in rules of threes, not 2. It's then alluding that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see it like that. I just thought that was like... Because I thought it would have been weirder to not bring it up again.
Well, if it's not brought up again, we don't think about it again.
Yeah, until you rewatch it and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
we brought
when
up
you rewatch it, but not while you're watching it through that run.
I think it's fine. I mean, agree to disagree, but...
I mean, that's one of the reasons it actually got kind of fan. Or not kind of. That was I saw them bringing that up in reviews. It's like...
Well, they brought up the confusion about...
some people thought it was going to be Huxley was his daughter.
And then they fuck. And then,
yeah. I mean, also the virtual sex.
That was awesome because also, I don't know if you noticed, the love theme was playing in the background, which I thought was really funny too. Because in this world... Their pop music are all like commercial jingles.
Well, that's their classic.
Their oldie station.
Yeah.
Which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
This whole world is just a bunch of weenies.
Yeah.
And they're like a bunch of Oscar Mayer weenies. And it's really funny.
Man.
I really liked that whole... I just liked that whole sex scene, actually. It was kind of awkward and weird because I don't really care for sex scenes in movies, but the way it went into the comedy route of like him just not understanding how sex works now.
Because they don't have they don't exchange fluids anymore. It's like forbidden to like touch.
Basically, it's very like very... Ew, you're talking about fluid exchange? It's just like, buddy. And it's just, and Sandra Bullock is just really adorable.
God, she's so good.
And
she's a great actress.
She just nailed it.
Yeah. Her commitment to whatever she's doing is so good.
Well, like her whole gag of always getting he really meet his match. You really licked his ass. Like always getting the phrases.
Just a little bit off, and he's like, kick his ass.
Kick his ass. Or we're going to go blow this guy away. Blow this guy away. It's reminding me a lot like, you sound like an idiot when you say it wrong, you know. Back to the Future. And I mean, let's.
Okay, we're a little over an hour right now.
I'm wrapping.
But like, I wanted to say we need to to really wrap up the idea of this movie. We need to talk about the subterranean people.
Oh, the scraps.
Yeah, because that's kind of that's really where the meat and the heart of this movie is. Like in the story is Cocteau rehabbed Phoenix to be an assassin for him to kill Mr. Friendly, Dennis Leary's character, because the subterranean he's like the leader of the resistance pretty much.
Yeah, the rebel, yeah.
The people that want, freedom of speech pretty much. They don't want to be suppressed by or oppressed by all these laws and whatnot. He's like, I want to smoke my cigar and I want to drink my wine and I want to say fuck shit and and I want to run down the street naked and
what he wants to say is what he's saying is I want to be a criminal but just not like a really bad criminal.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I mean, even back in your day, running down the street naked, covered in green Jello, you would have been arrested, Dennis.
Would you? In our day right now, would you in Seattle with the amount of shit we've seen walking around here?
I'm actually probably not.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You mean just, hey, there's a Jello guy again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but different city, different state.
Yeah. They're running out of food underground pretty much, and
well, then that creates the growth for Spartan.
Yeah.
And that was even kind of cool too. It's on the
Huxley
nose.
too.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, the fact that, he's beating up these guys, these scraps, stealing food from the dinner, and she's all turned on and really into the rough 'em tough 'em cowboy guy. Yeah. And then he explains that, beating up people is bad, especially when they're just trying to get something to eat.
Yeah.
Which she even has a commentary about, well, you're not the so-and-so guy, you're the man with the troubled past and pain behind his eyes. And she calls and that's the very
and
meta
he's like, would you stop? I'm just trying to help people.
Yeah.
Well, and there's even a great moment when the captain or whatever Gutton's character, when they're like Spartan wants to go find Phoenix, I think I know where he's gonna be when you go, and the captain's like, no, we'll just wait for him to do another murder death kill
and then we'll swoop in.
And Spartan's like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll wait for someone to get murdered.
Yeah,
and then we'll
it's
do something.
That's the opposite of what a cop is supposed to do. We're supposed to prevent,
and
prevent murder from happening. God.
But
so it just shows that he has his morals. He just doesn't care about what he doesn't want to kill people, but he doesn't care about the collateral around him for that.
Well, that's what's funny.
At any cost, I will stop the bad guy and save the people.
Well, because the way the movie ends too. So we have this whole thing. We meet our rebels and our now cops kind of have this shaky bond, and they're connected, and they're gonna fight the bad guy. We have this whole pretty great actually ending.
Well, we should talk about Cocteau getting murdered by Phoenix.
Yeah, Cocteau got murdered by Phoenix.
Well, yeah, but it's because Cocteau is it's the I forget the term, but he had this whole thing set up for Phoenix to murder Mr. Friendly, so then he could have his perfect society and whatever he was going to give Phoenix, Los Angeles or Las Vegas or whatever he was Malibu, that's right. You can have Malibu to yourself for your criminal empire, and that's
a big plot thing too.
That's what?
A big plot thing.
What do you mean?
Just the whole plan of Cocteau reviving this maniac.
Yeah.
It's what do you mean? And then you're going to give him his own empire again?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I said that to my mom, and she brought up, they never say that he's a smart man.
That's true. Because, but he does rehabilitate Phoenix to where Phoenix can't murder Cocteau.
But he can ask someone
He
else
can't pull
to
the trigger. Yeah, and that's the roundabout that then Cocteau didn't think about.
Yeah.
Oh no. And
well, that's another thing. Here, I'm going to go ahead and give you an army of a bunch of sociopaths just like you.
Yeah, it's God.
It starts, and that's what it is. Towards the movie's pretty, I think the movie's off to a pretty good start, but it kind of starts to get us off the rails
spirals
out. And it becomes, well, we need more bad guys for him to fight, and we need a big explosion at the end of it. And that's kind of what leads us into the back where we all started, the cryo prison.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of callbacks to shit they said when they first met. You know,
I find it interesting, just in a movie scientific sense. This is movie science. If you freeze something enough with nitrogen gas, it will shatter. And I don't know if that's true, and I don't think it is true.
What are you referring to?
Well, when the crane picks him up, and then he just starts freezing it, and then he breaks it with his hand. It's like, have you ever punched a block of ice?
Yeah, it's 90s cop
That's
superhero strength.
I was just kind of thinking. Well, and then
they're all like that.
When Phoenix gets frozen and then like his head gets shattered off. It's like,
well, that was the blue ball thing. That was the science ball.
I mean, I guess that's the movie science.
That's the movie. This blue ball,
the science fiction science,
blue thing.
It was just kind of, I'm sitting there, was like, well, like, I was wondering, like, when did in science fiction someone create this idea of like, if you freeze someone, you can shatter them like a block of ice? And then also, when did it become very easy to shatter a block of ice?
That is the more important question.
Right?
Like a thing of solid ice.
It's not very easy to shatter. It's not glass. And even like a solid like piece of glass isn't easy to shatter.
Well, maybe it's because it's freezing, not frozen.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, I mean, if you were to leave, something that, like, I don't know, a dead raccoon out in the snow, it's not going to just turn into a block of raccoon.
Yes, it is.
It's still going to deteriorate and like...
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? It's still going to...
No. If it's frozen, it's not going to deteriorate.
If you take it and you freeze it, right? You take in water, you take that water, and then it's frozen.
Yeah.
But if it's just out in the woods and it dies and it's sitting in the forest, it's still gonna deteriorate.
Yeah, if it's just sitting in the forest, yeah. But if it's like,
well, it's the same thing. It's like it's flash frozen. It's not in a block of ice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like if you just freeze a chunk of meat in your freezer, not in a block of ice or anything, you just keep it frozen. It doesn't go bad.
It will go bad. But not for a very, very long time.
But it's not going to deteriorate.
Yeah, and then it's like, go ahead and throw that steak at a car window, and it's probably going to go through that car window.
Yeah.
That is a good point. Like, when did ice become...
Yeah. It's like, I really want to know where that trope initially started.
Like, most of this shit, it looks cool.
Yeah.
We get to have Sylvester Stallone careening through the air going, heads up, and then knock Wesley Snipes' head off. And it bursts into a million pieces. It looks cool. Like, gives a fuck.
Right.
Like, that's really what this is. It's like visual spectacle. The only thing that I would say, I was like, ooh, this Sylvester Stallone running in slow motion was not great.
I mean, running in slow motion never really is.
He just makes a face, dude.
Well, he's already cut the face.
He's like, Jesus. And all the veins are popping out. And he's coming at you, so it's kind of like threatening. He's coming right at you. But
all right.
I mean, I think the pros of the movie are it really sits in a world that feels real. It feels like this weird fever dream, which is a weird kind of contradiction.
It feels grounded in in
a reality. Yeah. And that's always, I think, a hard thing to do.
Everyone believes and follows the rules of
this world,
even though they're breaking the rules. They're following the rules us as an audience have learned to accept.
It's a great villain. I mean, he's like a total psychopath, and he's everyone's kind of two-dimensional, but it works like
one-dimensional.
One-dimensional. He's like, because he has this almost like Joker goofiness, but then when he flips and he gets into like murder mode, he's like really intimidating.
Yeah,
and just Wesley Snipes is just an intimidating guy to begin with.
Oh yeah,
like his just whole demeanor, like his stature and just how he looks, like Blade.
Mm-hmm.
The dude barely says 3 words in all those movies, and he's terrifying. That might be part of why, but like his whole like dynamic in the third one with Ryan Reynolds is he barely says anything, and Ryan Reynolds' character, so it's like, don't hit me,
I just really quick. I did notice. I don't know. Did he the eye? Did he start off with one blue eye, one brown eye? Okay. When he's like crawling out of the sewers, like escaping, I think from after the museum or something. Oh no, maybe it was underneath. His eyes switch. The contacts are on the opposite eye, and I don't know if they just like flipped the shot.
Yeah, that's probably what. I can't imagine you're sitting there for how long? I don't know. What was it? 160 days. I can't remember how long it took them to finish this.
Fair.
But I can't imagine that you're sitting there and you fuck that up.
You never know, because that could have been just like a last minute pickup shot at the end of everything,
and they're not going to notice.
And like there's like the make people just cost people, and Wesley Snipes just like, I don't give a fuck. I don't remember which eye, just put it in. You know,
I think you're right on I think they just like actually we need for the continuity he needs to be facing this way, not that way. You know, and that probably having him facing the right direction was more important than the eye.
Maybe, I don't know.
Like he fell this way, but now suddenly he's crawling that way. Well, we gotta fucking whatever it was.
But yeah, it was just a weird thing that it's one of those in continuity things that you catch. That's a minor thing, kind of takes you out for a minute. Like when we saw the non-Danny DeVito Penguin in Batman Returns.
That was so weird.
It's very strange. Clearly, someone dressed as it's the Penguin, but not Danny DeVito Penguin.
It was really weird. I really hate that because that's like you're saying, it takes you out. Now I'm gonna see that every single time I watch that movie. Sorry,
but also like in at this point in movies in general, small incontinuity things like this are kind of like editors, directors are just like nobody's going to really notice it because audiences haven't really been trained to notice these things yet. Mm-hmm. But we're at a little over an hour 15 or so. How many carrots?
I want to give it a 3.
You want to give it a 3?
I do. For the realm that we're in for this type of movie at the 90s action flick, I just think it's one of the more interesting ones.
I'll give that to you, yeah. And I think
and they keep saying this non-originality thing, and I'm like, is it the cop and villain thing?
It's the commentary on a dystopic future that has already been. I mean, this is like Animal Farm. This is like
but this is funny.
Yeah, but it's commentary on it, but it's still very much it's a story. It's an idea that's been done a handful of times already.
Yeah. I mean, I get that, but it's like this whole. I don't know. I think.
But since it's like it's more in a Lethal Weapon, like world, like a representation, it feels like maybe that's things like at the time when it came out, people thought it was trying to be more serious than it actually is or was. And in retrospect, we're like, oh, like it's really not trying to be super serious.
It's not. It's like it's kind of.
But it's still making a very real statement about, like a fascist, society of like a faux utopia type thing.
Yeah.
Is that you're restricted so much to what you can do that you start. They don't realize that they're missing out on a lot of enjoyments in life, because their freedom has been taken away, and they're just assimilated into this, very rule bound world that maybe there is happiness in that society, but it's a created happiness. It's not a real happiness.
Well, ignorance is bliss.
Because that's Huxley's whole thing is like her obsession with the 20th century is kind of like this, like, man, things seem so much more interesting back then.
But it's also like with the whole Demolition Man thing too. It's like they go.
She's romancing, the past, and which it's thing that happened. Nostalgia. We do that still today.
They blow up the cryo prison, killing all those prisoners, which I thought was pretty wild because I never noticed that. I was like, oh wow, yep, all those guys are just blown to smithereens. But then also we killed. This is after everyone's finding out about Cocteau getting murdered, and I'm like, so he didn't just destroy the building; he destroyed these people's entire way of life.
Yeah.
And then when they ask like, what do we do? He's like, I don't know, figure it out. You're like,
here's Mr. Friendly. He can lead you.
Yeah, like I get it. It's like a fascist regime, and he was really controlling you. But what you did is really a shock.
Broke an entire society.
It's like you really. This is a real shock to the system, my guy. Like to suddenly their leader, their almost deity.
Yeah.
That has built their entire society.
The Cocteau way.
The Cocteau way is dead and gone, and you're just kind of like, figure it out, stupid. Adrian, like. It's kind of like wild. It's always that what happens after thing I keep talking about. And you're kind of like, These people are fucked.
You know, there was always a lot of talks about doing a sequel.
I'm so glad they didn't.
Same.
It would have been. I really don't think it would have been good, and I don't care what.
Even Sylvester Stallone said, like, it's missed its window.
The ship has sailed. Yeah, I'm like, yep. Even if it was still within that window, I would have been like, this is a bad idea. Don't do that. This movie would not do well with a sequel. I mean,
unless they focused on that, the how it all crumbled away.
Yeah, I mean, or they did like a Bad Boys 2 thing. Just went really like a really different direction.
Oh,
like because I mean, you look at Bad Boys 1 and 2, very different. They branch out.
Yeah, Bad Boys 2 has a lot more humor to it.
Well, it's Michael Bay.
Yeah, did he not do the first one?
No, I don't think so. Oh no, did he? I think he did. Did he?
I don't say he did.
I think he did. This is before he did that.
No, he was kind of finding that in Bad Boys 2.
Yeah, that's what he was like. Man, this shit's rad. I love blowing shit up. You're like,
That's when he discovered Coke.
Coke and fireworks.
Yeah. Anywho,
I mean, I'd go down to.
I'll go with 3.
Yeah? I was like, I'll go down to 2.5.
I'll do a 3.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
that's what a 3 is. I think it's a good, and it's one of those.
It satiates for what it's trying to do.
Yeah, and it's like,
it's fun. It's.
Yeah, and the acting is decent, and it's like, if you like this genre, if you like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and RoboCop and all that, I feel like this could be kind of a slept-on one because it doesn't have that status in the zeitgeist.
I feel like if you're going into, if you've never really seen this genre and you've been wanting to explore it, this is a good example of where it can be, what it is.
Yeah, it's the same thing as
because I feel like if you like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and all that, you've already watched this movie.
I think it's possible because of the sci-fi element takes it off as opposed to like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, which are more grounded in like the society of the time. Mm-hmm. But it's like even like if you like that kind of stuff, I'd say watch Judge Dredd. Is it great? No, but it
probably has.
It's fucking fun.
Yeah,
like, and that's what you go into these movies watching for is just high octane explosions and murder. And
yeah,
it's pretty. And Wesley Snipes really psycho and really funny in it. It's weird to see him funny.
You're right in the virtuosity lane with that too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Russell Crowe thing. It's just it's fun to see him in that world because he just doesn't do that.
Yeah,
and he hasn't since really. But yeah, so Demolition Man 3, cool. What are you doing next week?
I think it might be the rom-com. No.
What are we doing next week?
Blast from the Past.
Ooh, cool.
This will be a fun one. We've been talking about doing this for a minute.
Blast from the Past.
It'll be a blast from the past. Oh, my lucky stars.
I would agree with you if you committed. If you know, you know.
Right.
All right, my guys. Lucky stars. How do you do, ma'am?
Oh, do we need to do a movie actor connect thing?
What is it called?
Man, don't you have it bookmarked yet?
Nope. You haven't been me. Okay, I'm gonna do Choose For Me.
Yeah.
Tessa Thompson to Angelina Jolie.
Tessa Thompson, Valkyrie, right? To Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. No, right? That's.
Yeah, let's redo that because they're both in the MCU.
Marvel.
They're both in the MCU. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Amanda Seyfried to Harrison Ford. Don't play it now. Just.
I can't help it.
Off the top of your head, does that sound good? That sounds good, right?
Yeah,
that sounds good.
I mean, they're both in they're both in Marvel.
Who's Amanda Seyfried in Marvel?
She's a Madam Web.
That doesn't count. That's Sony.
Yeah, but Tom Hardy is in Spider. I already have it with. Unless we want to just like you can't use MCU, or you can't use anything Marvel.
Leonardo DiCaprio to Woody Harrelson. Stop playing. Just yes or no off the top of your head. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, let's stop playing the game. Okay, Leonardo DiCaprio to Woody Harrelson.
So you're telling me to turn off the autopilot?
Okay, great. All right. So yes, please follow us. Go ahead and play that game. It's the Connections game. So what we use is connect the stars, and it just kind of plots out. You put the movie, and then you connect them via co-stars in movies, and try to find the shortest connection. So those two are Leo to Woody. We will be
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. We will be doing Blast from the Past next week. And that wraps up the review for Demolition Man, which we gave a 3 out of 5. Yeah. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, but on all those are our promos. You know what's coming up for the following week. And there's our link tree, which will take you to our stuff where we, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, blah, 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 blah.
I feel like that's kind of, where only things that exist now.
It's getting pretty. Nah, there's
like still Spreaker and iHeart.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
I think iHeart still. Or Heart, whatever. Spreaker, definitely.
But yeah, that was everything. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's
Mixtape.
Send a maniac to catch a maniac.